Hello, I'm Catherine Tucker. I'm a professor of marketing at MIT. And I'm also lucky enough to be on the board of a new journal named Customer Needs and Solutions. Now, this journal aims to do something quite different for the marketing field. And one way we thought we'd be different right off the bat is by having a video interview up here on YouTube with our very eminent dean at MIT, Dave Schmidtlein, who also happens to be a very famous marketing professor. And the idea today is that he's going to tell us what we should be doing as marketing professors to really aid the profession. Now, the first question I want to ask you, which is the big question, is what marketing professors should be working on. What sort of real-world problems are you hearing from marketers and other stakeholders that we are not working on, but that we should be?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the chance to spend this time together. It's a little bit intimidating to imagine that people would actually revise some of their research ideas based on these kinds of conversations. But there are a few things that I hear as big issues that I think marketing can contribute to. And there are a few things that I hope marketing academics, marketing professors, and marketing researchers might think about. One big issue to begin with is what exactly we mean by marketing and what kind of work, what kind of thought leadership we expect to come out of marketing. Marketing is a function, a business function. It, as you know, relates to issues around product design and pricing and promotion and so on, and communication programs. Marketing is also a sector, and some of the quite interesting activity that happens and that marketing practitioners, but also marketing professors are driving, relates as much, I would say, to the sector as it does to marketing as a function. That relates in some ways to the way that new media are evolving, and as institutions, they're quite interesting institutions and quite important institutions, and they provide opportunities for some of the basic disciplines, psychology, economics, management science, and so on, to be reflected in the way that we understand the sector or we understand those institutions. Even beyond both marketing as a function and marketing as a sector, there is the old notion, and I hope we don't lose it, of marketing as a concept, marketing as a philosophy, marketing as a perspective that starts with people who understand customer value well, and the need for researchers who are pushing the envelope in understanding customer value, in understanding consumer decision-making, if you like, but in a very broad context, is greater than it's ever been. And so if I invite some faculty to maybe in some ways broaden where their research trajectories might take them, it probably has as much to do with that sense of marketing as a concept as it does with function and sector, although there's plenty of great things to do in both of those areas also. With marketing as a concept, you think about how important it is in innovation to understand well the ways that big science turns into or doesn't great inventions, and from there into great new products, and from there sometimes into new ventures. And there are avenues into that very broad set of questions that marketing faculty could address, and in my experience don't very much address. They address consumer reactions to new product ideas, some elements of new product design, but there are elements of this process around the way that people make decisions where marketers could have a very important role and relevance. And in a way, marketing could be the engine driving the understanding of this big issue. And it isn't, or it isn't in many cases. If we take another example, so we know that global supply chains are too tight. There is too much risk in those systems because of the desire for efficiency. There are roles and relevance that various aspects of management science in marketing, of decision-making that comes from marketing, survey design that marketers know about, that has a very central relevance to understanding what people really do in designing global supply chains, why they make the trade-offs that they do, and how we understand an element of systemic risk. marketers don't see many of those issues, I don't think, as their challenges. They're always, in this case, I think, too often seen as someone else's challenges. In fact, if we take that idea of global systemic risk, and you look at the headlines that you see in the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal, section by section and page by page, there are different aspects of systemic risk that come to the forefront. Marketing could be at the center of much of global financial systemic risk as well, in as much as it relates to investor decisions, consumer household finance decisions, and so on, both in the U.S. and around the world. And yes, there are some marketing faculty members who concern themselves with some of those issues, but I think they're seen as a bit tangential or off on the side rather than central to what marketing is about. And so to what extent do marketers choose to take the hugely valuable insights that they have around managing complex systems, around personal psychology, around the role of supply and demand in economic systems, in the big issues of the day? Others who know much less about these issues take on the big challenges, and may or may not reach out to a marketing professor for sort of a piece of insight. So I think what I would love to see especially, and we could name other large challenges like this, manufacturing is another great example of a setting in which marketers see themselves as having a bit of a role. And yet if you think about the way that manufacturing systems, or to use another example, healthcare systems, need to be very substantially redesigned, marketers don't think of themselves as being responsible for the whole issue. Going out and getting some economists or statisticians as needed, they think of themselves as having a little piece of the issue. So I would like to see marketing move more into the center of some of these kinds of considerations.